Hello everyone, last week I showed how to edit a photo inside of Lightroom, but this week I want to show you how to edit a photo that is very similar, but inside a completely free photo editing app named Polarr Photo Editor. Let's get started by rolling the intro. For those of you who are new to this channel, I'm Bellemare-Alford, a young photographer and filmmaker on the journey to become better at this art. In last week's video, we edited a photo that was taken just a little bit later than the one we're going to be editing today. They were both taken from the same location about the same time, and today the goal is really going to be try and show the warm colors inside of the shot and not just the cold look that we have out of the raw image. So let's get started with the editing right here, and we're going to go inside our photo editing app we're going to be using today, which is Polarr Photo Editor. It's a completely free app. You can see here that I haven't upgraded to the pro version, so this is completely free. And here I already loaded the image, so they're showing some of the filters we could apply automatically to it, but we're actually going to go inside of the edit tab. The picture I'm using is coming from my mirrorless camera, the Sony a7 IV, and it's a 33 megapixel image. It's a huge file and it's really long to load. That's why I loaded it before starting filming this video. But I could use a picture from my phone. I just forgot to take some raw images that day, and that's why I'm not using a picture from my phone for this edit. But the concepts are going to be the same, and remember, the concepts are really important inside of here. It's not necessarily what photo editing app you're using or what camera you're taking, you're using to take the pictures in the end. Really just try and understand the concepts that you can apply in whatever edit you're going to be doing. So first of all, what we're going to do here is actually go inside of transform, and that's a good thing to start with, and just cropping the image and then making sure that it's straight. So here we're just going to make sure that it's nice and leveled. And now that it's leveled, we're actually just going to crop it a little bit. So we're going to come in here, and I just want to remove the distractions on the side here, and there was a tree at the bottom here. So we're just going to come here and maybe crop it with something like this. So yes, I would always highly suggest, so this is looking much better. So we removed all the distraction. Now we really see the city in the bottom and the mountain in the background. So here what we're going to want to do is really make it a little warmer. So the first thing we're going to do is go inside of adjust. We're going to bring down the exposure a little bit. So if it was a sunset, it should be a little bit darker. So we're going to bring down the exposure. We're going to bring up the contrast here. We want to have a little bit more contrast, especially for the mountain in the background, so it can come out. Just like in the last video, we're going to bring down the shadows and bring back down the highlights and bring up the shadows. This is really going to come out and bring some dynamic range inside of the image. Then we're going to bring the whites up a little bit and bring the blacks up a little bit. So up to now, it doesn't look that good, but we're going to be fixing all of this right afterwards. So really don't worry if up to now it's not looking too good. So next thing we're going to want to do is actually go further away down here and go inside of our curves. So here we have, just like inside of Lightroom, our Luminance Curve. So for this one, we're going to bring up the shadows. We're going to do what we call a S curve right here. So you're going to see that right here, we're bringing a lot of contrast inside of the image by doing this edit. So be careful, you don't want to overdo it. And by bringing up here, we can really create this faded look that looks quite good inside of cities, things like that, because you don't want to have as much of the harsh colors inside of the city. So we're going to do the same thing on the other curves right here. So we're going to bring up the reds. We're going to bring it down here, and we're just going to make sure that in the highlights, it's pretty straight. So we're going to do something like this. Then we're going to go into greens, bring up the greens, bring them down, and do about the same thing on the blues right here. So we're going to bring up the blues, bring them down, do a curve something like this. I might have gone a little bit too much, so let's see if I can bring this up a little bit. Try and match. One really cool feature inside of Polarr Photo Editor here is you can see your other curves underneath, so you can make sure that they're looking about the same. So I forgot to fix my green right here, so now that we have this, this is looking much better. So something like this, we can see right away our colors are much richer. We have a lot more information inside of here and looks a much warmer overall. So then if we go back inside of the color options here, we're going to go here. We're going to bring up the vibrance just a little bit, but bring down the vibrance. Up to now, I think we brought it above too much. So we're just going to bring down the saturation a little bit because it was a little bit too intense. And also I think we're going to bring back up some of our exposure. So this looks good. Like when you're editing, one thing you have to understand, it's a lot of back and forth between the different tabs. You don't have to do everything in one shot. It's normal to go through different options and come back and forth through everything. So now I think this looks pretty good. So next thing we're going to be doing is going in HSL, which is hue, saturation, and luminance. And we're going to tweak a bunch of little settings right here. So first of all, we're going to bring up our reds right here. So the gold right here is going to bring up everything that is inside of the orange, red, and yellows, because those are the colors we're going to want to have more vibrant to replicate the golden hour. And then we're probably going to bring down everything that's more on the blue side. So if we come here, I'm actually going to move the yellows a little bit more towards the orange, so we really get the glowy color from the sunset. Now if you look at the greens, usually you don't want to have as much green. There's not many greens inside of here, so we're just going to bring them down quite a lot, desaturate them, just so we remove that color from the image. Then we're going to come inside of here. So these are our aqua colors. These we're going to probably just bring them down a little bit. We don't want to have them as intense because we really want the golden colors to be more intense. And our blues, we're going to bring them more towards a teal color. So the orange is teal is a very popular look online, so we're probably going to bring them that to create a contrast between the golden colors and the teal color, because these are opposite colors on the color wheel, so that's why they go well together. Then we're just going to come here, maybe bring up, bring down, I'm not sure here, the purple. So actually purple, we're not going to touch it that much, we might just bring it up a little bit in the luminance. And here inside of the pink, we're going to play with the pink a little bit. We might bring it up, bring it a bit more towards pink, and bring the luminance. So I think this is looking actually pretty good up to now. So again, we did a lot of small little tweaks. You need to be very careful and just play with the settings, find what you like, what you don't like, and always try and think, what are you trying to do to sort the image? So here we're trying to bring out the colors for the sunset. So that's why we're bringing everything that was inside of the red, orange, and yellow up, and bring everything that's opposite, so more on the blue side, down, and toning them a little bit. Then we're going to go inside of the toning tab here, and we're going to tone the shadows and the highlight. You have to be very careful here because we're going to make pretty big difference when we're going to be playing with this. So here we can go inside of our shadows. So we're probably going to want to bring it around inside of here of a blue, and then we're going to have to come here and bring up the saturation of our toning. So maybe not that much, I would say something a little bit like this. If we go inside of the highlights we're going to bring them more on the orange side, and we're going to bring them up too. I think this might be a little bit too much. Let's go back inside of our shadows. So again, just go through the tabs, play with them, try and find what works, what doesn't. We can play also with the balance here to see what looks better. So I do prefer, I think, a little bit more on this side. It gives really this nice warm color. So if we want to look up to now what we have, this was the before and this is the after. So you can see that we have a much warmer and just more sunset look inside of our image. Now if we continue inside of the tools right here, we can go back inside of adjust. We can go inside of effect. We're not going to touch anything here. We're going to go inside of detail actually, and we're going to add just a little bit of clarity and a little bit of sharpness just to make sure that everything looks nice and sharp. And then we're just going to come inside of denoise in here. Just apply a little bit of denoise inside of the image because there's a little bit of noise inside of that image. So up to now, I think it looks really good. You could have fun, add some grain. We could also add a vignette, but I'm not a big fan of adding a vignette in this way. We're actually going to use another technique that is free inside of Polarr Photo Editor. And if you didn't know right here, if you want to reset a setting, you can simply double tap right here. We can come inside of the all option right here, and we're going to add a selection with a radial filter right here. So here we're simply going to put the radial filter around our mountain right here. And then we're going to come here inside of the exposure, bring down the exposure, and like that we make sure that our radial filter is actually not on, our vignette is not on the whole image, but really centered on our main subject, which is the mountain here. So we're going to apply here right this. And there's a lot of things we can do. Like if you look at this image, you might realize there's a lot of information at the bottom here and we don't see as well the mountain. So the last thing we're going to do here is actually go inside of our another filter. We're going to add a linear filter. Actually, we're going to go the other way around. So we're going to bring, okay, so I want to have this on the city right here with a nice little gradient at the end, so it doesn't, so it's not too sharp. So something looking like this is pretty good. Then we're simply going to come inside of the colors right here, and we're going to bring down a little bit desaturation so they're not as vibrant. And we're also going to go inside of the lights here, and we're going to make everything a little bit darker. And we're also going to go inside of the shadows here and maybe bring up the shadows, something like that. So I think that overall this looks pretty good. So if we look before, after, before, after. A last little thing I would do here is go back inside of our colors here. I think it's a little bit too intense, so we might just want to play a little bit with the slider here for the color temperature. And I actually think if we go down a little bit right here, this is looking pretty good. So now we have our final edit. So we have before and after. So now the only thing that's left is actually exporting the image. We can come here and we can save the image to our phone. So that was it for this edit. Let me know what you think about this edit. Was it useful? Are there any things inside of the edit you didn't understand and want me to do a more in-depth video? Is there another app you want me to explore? Let me anything like that down in the comments below. Also, definitely share the video, please, with people. This is how you can let YouTube know that you're enjoying the content that I'm making on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting the like button below, and definitely subscribe to the channel for more content on photography and filmmaking. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.